Okay, so now we're going to get into detailing the torso here. And the lower area of the torso is really what's going to make this model shine because we have a lot of areas that need rest. The viewer's eyes need to rest in places, and this is where we really get into the fun detail here. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and made a shadow box, and I'm just going to use the clip circles brush to kind of get a perfect cylinder in the middle here. And I've seen this on a few different models from different IPs, so maybe you recognize this kind of thing right here, but I thought it was a cool little detail, so I went ahead and just threw it in here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and use various masking techniques to add some surface changes to make sure that we have enough noise going on, because we gave ourselves a lot of rest with the rest of the model, so why not? Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just use masking here to get groups. Okay, and so I'm just going to push this in so I can add some detail there later. I don't know what I'm actually going to put there. I think I might reuse a few things, but we'll go ahead and see at a later point. I kind of want to block in everything before I get into the more elaborate details. So you see I've kind of blocked these pieces in here, and I've used a lot of shadow box to make this, a lot of shadow box and trim dynamic, and that's what really sells that and kind of integrates it all together. And to make the tubing feel more integrated to the piece as well, I went ahead. What I'm doing right now is I'm just adding some insertions for the tubes to kind of insert into, I guess. It's pretty obvious, right? But I think it really helps sell the fact that the tubes are meant to do something for the suit, and they're not just there just for details. And that's what we've been trying to do the whole time, is just kind of trick the viewer. All right, so I'm just using group loops here to kind of make everything clean. And you'll notice for these, at least these tubes right here, what I do is I add a bigger insert area, and then a smaller one. And the smaller one, I use sharper edges on it. So the idea there is kind of the bigger areas maybe like another piece of tubing that goes around it, and the smaller piece is the actual metal part that it inserts into. All right, and I'm just kind of making more of the flank pieces now, and you've actually seen this type of piece before. There's one in the legs. I don't know why I reused it. I kind of just like the design, so I thought I would go ahead and use it again. Why not? Looks pretty cool to me. So there we go. After I've cleaned that up and I've mirrored it over, you can see I've added a lot more Z-sphere tubing. My goal there was just to kind of make it a little bit more noisy and try to make it look more cool. And this is what I came up with. You can see I have the tubing wrapping around his body in various different ways and kind of looping around itself. And I think really well, I shouldn't say the more complex the better, but the more elaborate while making it seem realistic is definitely the way to go. Because making elaborate models is just really cool. I guess you should push it as far as you can without making it look absolutely ridiculous. So like wrapping a bunch of like tubing and stuff around his neck, I wouldn't recommend it because you wouldn't be able to breathe. But it's okay to do it like around the torso and stuff, as long as you can, as long as mobility is not affected, I should say. And I think in this model it's affected a little bit, but the thing is you can get away with it looking as if it's not affected. And so in this back area, what I'm really trying to do here is just kind of block in the kind of integration piece that make everything kind of feel together. So that's my main goal with all these small pieces, is to make everything feel like it's more elaborate and feel like it's part of a bigger whole. You notice that's why I'm not doing a lot of details like these in the legs and well, in the legs and the arms basically, is because I don't want to overdo it. I really want to try to disperse the details evenly. Well, not so evenly, but relatively evenly. Like where I want the details to be even, and where I don't want the details, I want the details to be as evenly absent there as they are in the other places. And so the trim hole brush is a really great way to get this kind of screw hole effect. It just works so great. There's actually, I've made a brush for that as well, just so you can stamp it on there. And you can make brushes at various angles, but the main thing is all the polygons have to be able to be seen from where you're projecting from. Otherwise, the brush you're making won't turn out as well. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw the tubing in here. And you can see the model's actually, my manipulation of the model is going quite a bit slower. And that's just because I have so much stuff going on here. Actually, the back area right there, I think it kind of looks like a face with the huge circles and the like little flaps right there kind of look like his buck teeth or something like that, like he's a baby or something. Sorry, it just kind of looks like a little robot child. But anyways, yeah, the manipulation of the mesh is kind of going a little bit slower because I just have so much going on here. And so what I've done is, you can't really tell because I don't have the legs selected and I don't have polyframes on, but I actually have them decimated. And I have the top decimated as well. You can actually tell that the top's decimated. You can see the kind of artifacting in the mesh. And that's just to make sure that I can, since ZBrush is the reason we use ZBrush is for speed. In terms of mechanical modeling, we can get the shapes that we want a lot faster than in, say, 3ds Max or Maya. Those are probably more accurate to make your shapes, but they are less efficient. So we don't want to sacrifice our speed for slowness, or for, I guess, accuracy of the mesh. We want to make it as fast as possible and sacrifice some of the meshes that we're actually not going to be manipulating. And you can see I don't have the back areas. I don't have those fully edited yet. I don't have them fully smooth. You can see that in kind of the bigger back area above the one I'm editing right now. And that's okay, because I want to block everything in, and then after I block things in, I'll go ahead and smooth it out. And the H polish brush is perfect for smoothing, so that's what I'll use. Alright, so I'm just kind of adding details into the tubing areas that I made. I just wanted to make it seem as if there's kind of holes in there so you can kind of see the mesh, or see the tubing a little bit. I don't know, I think it looks cool. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is, I have these Z-spheres, but they're not really useful to me at this point. So what I need to do is I need to go into each of these and convert them into adaptive skins, so I can make new adaptive skins and then reappend them as actual subtools instead of Z-spheres. And the first thing I want to do is, since I didn't use that many articulation points in the Z-spheres, I want to go ahead and just smooth them all out. But I want to be careful. I mean, it's kind of a fine line. I want to smooth out the kind of flow of it without affecting the diameter of the Z-spheres. Because if they change in diameter too much, you'll kind of lose the magic in them. So they really need to stay consistent throughout the whole thing. And you can see that's why I inflated that a bit, because I felt like I lost too much of the radius by smoothing it out. So now I'm just kind of extracting these areas, same as the ones on the front. and kind of giving that soft look for the first one. And then for this one right here, I'm going to kind of add a harder look, kind of like a plating over it, so it looks like there's some kind of protection for it, which in real life really doesn't make that much sense. Because if you just protect the insert point, a bullet could still pierce the tubing. But that's not something that gamers think about. They just think about how cool it looks. So it works. It works really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and extract this so I can get some thickness to it. I'm gonna get more of a smooth extraction. And the group loops actually clean this up very well. I'm gonna go ahead and modify the edges still though, because they need it a little bit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of cut in here and cut this bad boy right there. Alright, so that looks pretty good, and it looks as if it's plating for the tubing. And I needed to give that more buffer in there, so I just used the move tool. And then again, just using the layer tool to cut in some small details. Okay, so I'm going to make one more extraction here, and the reason for this is I thought it'd be kind of cool to make a modular kind of tube design for some of the tubes. So, and it kind of makes sense in case one part of the tube breaks for the actual guy, not the model. They could just, kind of rotate it out and put in a new part of the tube, and they don't have to worry about replacing the entire thing like the insert point, which may be a real hassle. So I went ahead and thought it would be cool, and so I'm just adding kind of a connection point to where the tube, maybe the middle part of the tube, could be unhooked and you could take it out. So I'm just going to kind of deflate this a bit. Just for so it kind of looks like there's a connection point there that can be undone. Okay, and so I want a little cover piece for the crotch area. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the new matchmaker brush. And all you do is set the intensity to 100, and it has to be a flat plane. And you can see what it does is it conforms to whatever is behind it relative to the camera. So it's really great for kind of creating a nice matchmaking effect. So I'm just trying to create a flat piece here. And the more sharp angle changes that you can see, the less polygons you're going to get. You can see when I rotate it, you can see kind of the crazy surface changes. The ones that almost move directly away from the camera, they're gonna look bad. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and make the match make, and then we can select out an area that we want, and then we can use that for an extraction, and that will really just work marvelously to sell this as a piece on top of a piece. And we didn't have to waste any time with fighting, making sure that everything is the right width around all the sides. So it's a really cool tool. It's a new tool, and it's a huge time saver for certain effects, like this one. Just get to make that final cut there, and then we can mirror it over. Okay, and I wanted to do one more matchmaking piece just for the back area. And then I can matchmake the entire area and then just select out the portion that I actually want, like we did in the front. And now I'm just going to use kind of the transpose tools and the move tools to kind of move this into position. The matchmake doesn't make it exactly the way I want, but that's okay because the modifications are really easy and they'll allow for a lot of leniency in what we actually get. So it's just kind of a nice little cover. It doesn't add a whole lot, but it does give a nice subtle effect. Just kind of adding more modular design pieces. And you can see I'm doing that on the front as well. using the visibility, the shrink and grow visibility to select out certain polygon areas so I can extract certain polygon areas. Such a useful tool. All right, and you can see I'm kind of creating insert covers over here as well. And I'm just measuring the other one of my clip circle centers to make sure that they're the correct size. Just to keep as consistent as possible. Okay, so now what we're going to make is we're going to make a area of the chest that is a smaller detail, but a more intricate detail. And so we're going to go ahead and use one of our polyspheres and use radial symmetry to start carving this out using H-polish and the trim dynamic brushes. And this is really, I don't know exactly what this is. I saw it and I thought it looked pretty cool, so I went ahead and made it. But it's basically like a lever, circular lever that you might kind of grab and twist and pull out, and maybe there's some kind of cool future technology that we don't know about yet, so I can't talk about. It's pretty cool. I don't know exactly what it is, but the most important thing is that it looks like it has function, and it looks like it has a purpose. That's the main thing that we're going for here. And so it almost kind of looks like a rotor right now, and that's cool because if someone sees a design and they kind of, that looks kind of familiar, and maybe they won't be able to place it, but they know that it's a design from something, and that they'll kind of just connect it as a design instead of just being like, that just looks like intricate detail. But here it's like, okay, I recognize that it's similar to a rotor, so it must have this function that is somewhat similar to a rotor, maybe not, or it could be something else. It's a subconscious thing that can help sell it. So I'm just trying to even out the area here. Use the H-polish brush to kind of smooth this area out. It's looking a little bit pentagonal, or however many sides that has, but we'll smooth it out soon enough. I really just use any brush I can get a hold of. You can see I use Clay Tubes brush, like and that brush is really messy, but it's okay because you can always fix it. And as long as you can fix it, that's really everything is game. So we just got a nice base shape, and I kind of like this little design here. So. I kind of thought that was not, it didn't look radial enough, so I just went ahead and pulled it out a bit to make it even. And I'm just going to use the Damien Standard brush to kind of cut into certain areas and just give it just a little bit more detail. Shadowbox was used for this mesh, and I'm just trying to kind of integrate this handle piece that flows over the top, and I'm trying to integrate it into the actual entire piece. So I'm trying to modify my masking here a bit, and then I'm going to use clipping after I invert it to get a nice clip in there. And then pull that out with clipping. And these are all just kind of details that maybe that's like a little switch or something, or like to me it kind of looks like a lever that might be on a disc jockey's table thing that has a bunch of tiny little thumb levers that you kind of push up and down, or they push up and down, and I have no idea what they do, but it looks important, so it's cool. And I just kind of want to make a little bit of a screw port area, or just like add screws there. There we go. And that actually looks pretty cool like that, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it like that. And then finally, just a surface detail on the outside, like little screw things. And it looks beautiful. So now after we have it, we can go ahead and move it into place. And you'll notice that some of these meshes that I'm making right now, like some of the detail meshes, they might actually be pretty heavy in geometry. And so if you don't plan on editing them anymore, which what I do is I go ahead and save them as a separate subtool before I import them, or as a separate actually file altogether. And what I go ahead and do is I just decimate them, and that really helps to make my final product more lightweight and more usable. In the end, it really is. This mesh would need to be converted if you're going to use it for high poly, which I probably wouldn't. It would need to be converted into something that is animatable, which this is not. But the best thing for this, I think, the most useful thing that you could use with this is games. Because all you have to do is make the low poly mesh, and then you can just project this detail. And projection is the easiest thing. No, you don't have to have any UVs, no nothing. Just the mesh you're projecting to has to have all that stuff. So it makes it really easy. And this mesh that you see here in the upper part of the chest area, or I don't know, he has a big chest. That upper area that I'm manipulating right now, I don't actually keep it, but it's still kind of cool to see the kinds of different detail meshes you can create using radial symmetry. I could actually do that for hours, just going in there and playing with the radial brushes and just see what kind of crazy stuff you can come up with. It's a lot of fun. But actually, this is, I thought it kind of didn't fit, or I thought there was too many of those kinds of things there, so I just deleted it, and I'm opting for a different kind of detail here. Going back to something or an idea I had before. So I'm going to go ahead and use group loops on this. And then that beautiful 3-circle motif that we've so often used is going to be used here. I think 3 circles is pretty much the telltale sign that you're making something sci-fi. I see it all the time in a lot of the concept art I see and a lot of the 3D stuff I see. But there's a reason you see it, is because it looks really cool. And thankfully it's not a detail that has been completely overused yet. But it will soon enough to where people's eyes will just get tired of it. But for now, it looks cool still. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Kind of, I wanted to get that wing effect that we've been going for. And now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to integrate the neck into the upper chest area, because I felt that it didn't look like there was enough meshes there. It just kind of looks separate. So I'm making a bunch of small meshes that kind of integrate that a little bit better. I think that really does help a lot, that piece right there. And you'll notice I've added a lot of Z-sphere tubing in his neck area, and that's because that area felt really empty, and when it felt empty, it felt really wimpy too. It felt like this guy has this huge, elaborate mech suit, and he can beat anybody up, completely just destroy anybody. But if you get close enough and just kind of knock him on the head and snap his neck, it's all over for him. So I needed it to be beefier, and that's what we did. And so now I'm just kind of using Damien standard brushes to cut in areas. And I really do have to use the pinch brush to get the Damien standard to work with this mesh, because the Damien standard brush is kind of it gives you softer cuts than we need. So, but pinching over them is easy enough. All right, so let's just zoom that out and check it. It looks good. So I'm actually working on the crown right now. I hit everything else, but I can assure you it's the crown. And I'm just trying to kind of separate areas out and give it more of a modular feel. I really like modular designs. Like, you know, you can pull pieces out, put different pieces in. Like, I mean, even though it's like it's meant to look like a crown, this area right here, maybe they're like cartridges for RAM or for like soda pop or something. I don't know. But modular designs really, they just really look cool. So I'm just kind of creating a surface detail here by using the H polish brush to pull out certain areas. And it's a really subtle effect, but I think it kind of adds quite a bit to the head. And you can see I've done all the elaborate tubing in there already. Kind of skipped it because it's a redundant piece of knowledge. So I'm just kind of adding, it's just a simple brush that I made that is kind of just a really long rectangular brush, and I use drag dot, excuse me. And if I use one negative and one positive, it looks like it has that kind of industrial design feel where like we know exactly what we're supposed to do with something like that. We know that we're supposed to put our fingers in it and pull up, so it kind of adds a little surface detail to that, and that's really helpful. And so that's pretty much it for the torso. A few changes here and there, but nothing major, so we can go ahead and move on.